Caps for Sale, a tale of a peddler, some monkeys, and their monkey business, by Esfir Slobodkina. This is an old book. It's one that I read when I was a kid, and I really loved it. And I'm hoping that you will too. Caps for Sale. And the author wrote it to, and she also illustrated the book. She wrote it to Rosalind and Emmy Jean and to their grandfather who loved to read to them. Do you have someone in your family who loves to read to you? I hope so. Once there was a peddler who sold caps, but he was not like an ordinary peddler, carrying his wares on his back. He carried them on the top of his head. First he had on his own checkered cap, then a bunch of gray caps, then a bunch of brown caps, then a bunch of blue caps, and on the very top, a bunch of red caps. One morning, he couldn't sell any caps. He walked up the street and he walked down the street calling, "Caps, caps for sale, 50 cents a cap." But nobody wanted any caps that morning. Nobody wanted even a red cap. He began to feel very hungry, but he had no money for lunch. "I think I'll go for a walk in the country," said he. And he walked out of town, slowly, so as not to upset his caps. There isn't anybody on the street. No cars, no people. It's just him. He walked for a long time until he came to a great big tree. "That's a nice place for a rest," thought he, and he sat down very slowly under the tree and leaned back little by little against the tree trunk so as not to disturb the caps on his head. Then he put up his hand to feel if they were straight. First his own checked cap, then the gray caps, then the brown caps, then the blue caps, then the red caps at the very top. When you look at the picture, can you tell how many red caps there are? How about blue? How about brown? How about gray? And last of all, how many checkered caps? Yeah, there are 4 of each color, aren't there? Except for the checkered cap, where he only has 1. I'm thinking we could count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. He had 16 caps he was hoping to sell. The sun looks happy. They were all there, so he went to sleep. He slept for a long time. But before standing up, He felt with his hand to make sure his caps were in the right place. And all he felt was his own checked cap. Oh dear. He looked to the right of him. He looked to the left of him. No caps. He looked in the back of him. No caps. He looked behind the tree. No caps. I wonder where they've gone. Then he looked up into the tree, and what do you think he saw? On every branch sat a monkey. On every monkey was a gray or a brown or a blue or a red cap. Do you remember when we counted all the caps? And do you remember how many there were? Yeah, 16. So how many monkeys do you think are up in that tree? I bet you're right. The peddler looked at the monkeys. The monkeys looked at the peddler. He didn't know what to do. Finally, he spoke to them. "You monkeys, you," he said, shaking a finger at them. "You give me back my caps." But the monkeys only shook their fingers back at him and said, "Tss, tss, tss." They look happy. This made the peddler angry, so he shook both hands at them and said, "You monkeys, you give me back my caps." But the monkeys only shook both their hands back at him and said, You want to pretend to be the monkeys and shake both of your hands? Now he felt quite angry. He stamped his foot and he said, "You monkeys, you better give me back my caps." What do you think the monkeys did? But the monkeys only stamped their feet back at him and said, "You want to stamp your feet on the floor like they did up in the tree?" But this time, the peddler was really angry, very, very angry. He stamped both his feet and shouted, "You monkeys, you must give back my caps." But the monkeys only stamped both their feet back at him and said, "Tss, tss, 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 tss." They still have smiles on their faces. They're having fun with the peddler. At last he became so angry, he pulled off his own cap, threw it on the ground, and began to walk away. He's very frustrated, isn't he? But then each monkey pulled off his cap and all the gray caps and all the brown caps and all the blue caps and the red caps came flying out of the tree. So the peddler picked up his caps and put them back on his head. First his own checked cap, then the gray caps, then the brown caps, and then the blue caps, then the red caps at the very top. He seems to have forgotten this one, but I'll bet he'll pick it up later, don't you? And slowly, slowly, he walked back to town calling, "Caps! Caps for sale! 50 cents a cap!" Here it says, "The end." Well, I think that's a very fun book, and I hope you enjoyed it. Now, a little note for the teachers. One of the things that I think this book is great for is mathematics, because one of the things that you want the children to practice doing is seeing small groups of numbers without having to count them. And it's best to use like numbers between 1 and 3. But in this book there are 4. But it's nice the way that they're organized by color, so that the kids can learn to just see 4 caps, 4 red caps, 4 blue caps, 4 gray caps. And then later they can count all of them, touching each cap to make sure that they are not missing any, right? As they go along. It's a good practice to give kids the opportunities to see some small groups of objects that interest them, and to have them compare the sizes of the groups so that they can get a sense of which one is bigger or smaller before counting the numbers. And then they can begin counting them one by one. And then, of course, those who are ready can start doing some simple arithmetic problems. But this is a nice book to use when you're starting to look at groups of numbers with kids. And I hope you enjoyed the book.